Hello and welcome to Inside the Folder, the podcast that takes a look at the web series The Steele Dossiers, a web series I created. I am your host, Francesco Di Francesco. Since this is the first podcast, let me explain a bit more of what this podcast is going to be all about. So The Steele Dossiers is a web series about a film noir detective that investigates the supernatural in science fiction. So far there has been 10 episodes released, and about 7 or 8 scripts written out ready to be filmed. Each episode of this podcast will go in order of how the series was released, and I will speak in depth about filming the episodes, as well as talk a little bit more about the folklore of each of those episodes. This one is going to be more of an introduction of how the series got started, and what can you expect from this podcast as well. So the next podcast that you hear will be the first episode of the Steele Dossiers. So, how did this web series get started? Well, I don't want to call it a web series. I'm going to call it a series of shorts. So, how did this series of shorts get started? Well, it was June 2020, and my sister and I just finished filming a mockumentary called The DVD Keeper. That's a short film about a movie collector talking about his DVD collection. We both had fun making the film. We enjoyed it, and we decided we wanted to do more films. We know because of the DVD Keeper, we couldn't continue that storyline. That was almost like a one and done sort of thing. Where else would you have moved on if you've seen that film? But we both love, I think more so me as opposed to her, love the supernatural and science fiction. I grew up watching Ghostbusters. I still love it to this day. I've seen the new one. I've seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I have many action figures and Ghostbuster memorabilia, so you can tell how much I love Ghostbusters. But growing up with Ghostbusters has really put me in the whole world of supernatural and learning about folklores, learning about myths and all those kind of stories as well. Even though it's not supernatural, but wrestling. And I'm not talking about wrestling in general. I'm talking about one specific wrestler, The Undertaker. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up as well. So there's been a lot of stuff that's influenced my supernatural and science fiction needs, and has made me continue to love it till this day. I will say, you won't hear it in this episode, but I will say there's references to the Ghostbusters and to the Undertaker in the Steele Dossiers series. Once I get to those episodes, I will say what they are and take it from there. But this one's all about how did the Steele Dossiers start. Well, so after the DVD Keeper, we wanted to do another film, because, we were bored, we had fun, let's do it. And I came up with, I have a costume. I have a Bigfoot costume. Let's back this up a little. My experience and my expertise, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a director. Let's just say I work in the entertainment business, to sum it up that easy. And I have a lot of props and a lot of costumes, a lot of things that I can use for theater, for film. And one of them is a Bigfoot costume, which originally I wanted to have a Bigfoot character in season 2 of another web series called Enchanted Mafia Dark City. At the time of me recording this episode here, season 2 of Enchanted Mafia has not come out, but season 1 is out. If you want to check Enchanted Mafia Dark City, by all means, you can check it out on Almost Elite Films on YouTube. That's a web series, again, still deals with the supernatural sort of thing. It deals with a mafia that's made up of the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, Cupid, the Tooth Fairy, and all those kind of enchanted figures. And I wanted to bring a Bigfoot into season 2. But I didn't write those out yet, and they haven't been, it just never I can't say materialize. Oh, there it is. It hasn't materialized to this point. So I went, I need to use this Bigfoot costume because I want to use it. And instead of doing the whole route of, hunters chasing Bigfoot, or Bigfoot's the evil monster and it's a horror film, I went, you know what? No, let's combine two different sort of things and make it one. And the idea I had was to do a film noir detective, and he goes on the hunt for Bigfoot. He investigates stuff, and he's the investigator of the supernatural and science fiction. I went, perfect. That's what this one will be about. And I want to keep this under 5 minutes. So when I wrote it out, I went, okay, this detective's gonna need a name. What's the name? I didn't really focus on this until I realized that this series, so this one's more of a film noir chasing after supernatural, but it's very close to I don't know if you know the series Kolchak, the Night Stalker. That's a great series. It's again, he's a detective that goes after all these sort of myths and like zombies and all this kind of stuff. Check it out. It's a good series there. But back to Steele here. So I was coming up with the name, and I really liked Steele. I really liked the name Steele for the character. I think I got it from Leslie Nielsen's character in Spy Hard. He was Steele. And I went, I like Steele, but what's his first name? And I wanted him to be cool, simply because I'm also playing him. So I want to be that cool kind of film noir detective. And the first name I thought of was Axel Steele. Detective Axel Steele. And then when I was talking to my sister, we both remembered Axel Steele is actually a character in the video game Guitar Hero. So couldn't use that. And my sister suggested, what about Arthur Steele? And I thought about it and I went, Arthur Steele. That's pretty good. I like Arthur Steele. We'll go with Arthur Steele. So that's how the name came to be, Arthur Steele. Now, originally, I only planned to film the one short. I only planned to film The Call of Bigfoot, which I'll get more in depth in the next episode. But I only planned to do the one. And it wasn't until I was filming B-roll. In case you don't know what B-roll is, it's just filming extra footage of like the surrounding area. Like for instance, there's a dragon head prop on Steele's desk, and it would be like focusing on just the dragon head, or Steele sitting at the desk writing. Just a little bit of extra footage because with film noir there is voiceovers, so I figured let's film some of that. That way I have it just in case when I edit it, I can maneuver stuff with it. But when I was filming all that B-roll footage with Arthur Steele at his desk, it hit me where I should make this into a series. And I wanted to do, as I said, I wanted to do it not as a web series, because when you think of a web series, it's like a continuous, like from episode 1 to episode 2, it's like a continuous storyline. Whereas with this, I wanted to do a series of shorts. Because, again, growing up, I watched The Three Stooges. The Three Stooges is not really a TV show. It's more of a series of shorts. That's why they're called Three Stooges shorts. Because each one is a different sort of contained story in of itself. Like, it could be funny in one. It could be funny scary. It could be funny adventurous. Like, okay, funny is throughout the thing. But, like one could be a horror one. One could be a mystery one. And I wanted to do that. So that's what I did. And I went, okay, I'm going to call this one The Call of Bigfoot, but what do I call the entire series? First thing that came to mind was the Steele Files. And I went, yeah, because, a film noir detective would have files, and he would have like all his cases and files. But at the same time, I didn't want to call it files simply because, the X-Files was out. Well, not out, but the X-File, everybody knows about the X-Files. And then people would think, oh, it's just like a cheap version of the X-Files. I went, no, I don't want to call it the Steele Files. I did like the name Steele being in the name of the show. So I went, what's another word for files? And it's dossiers. And I went, oh, That sounds a little bit more classier. The Steele Dossiers. And I love it. So I wrote it down on with a permanent black marker. I wrote it on one of the folders, placed it on Steele's desk there, filmed that, and now all the B-roll footage is actually in every episode because it is the intro to each short. Because I can't get into more of the episodes, and I'm not going to get into the episodes or the first episode now. I'm going to talk about the intro of what I just filmed. So the intro, it was the second thing I filmed after the last scene of the Call of Bigfoot, which I'll say that again when you hear the second episode of this podcast. But all that footage, like if you look at the desk, as I mentioned earlier, on the right hand side of the desk is a dragon head prop. I didn't make it. I did a theater show called She Kills Monsters. And that show is about Dungeons and Dragons. Again, more mythical, supernatural kind of things. And I played Orcus, who is, if you don't know Dungeons and Dragons, Orcus is the devil, pretty much. And he's red in the game, and the dragon's head is red. And I went, you know what? This would be on Steele's desk. And I placed it there because I needed something to put there. All the folders that I'm looking through on the desk are actually filled with papers. Some of them are blank papers, some of them are scrap paper, some of them are scripts to previous productions that I've been in. I think one of them actually does have She Kills Monsters in the folder. And here's a funny little tidbit. And another one is another folder is filled with some tax papers of mine that I had to keep from 2011 for certain reasons. I think now I can probably toss them because it's been 10 years. But yeah, in there, that's all those real papers. And then on the left is an actual rotary phone. It's not plugged in. I do believe the outlet is a European outlet, so I wouldn't be able to plug it into any of the walls here to actually use it, but it works great as a prop. And then behind Steele, I kid you not, is so if you saw the DVD keeper, it's the same kind of area. However, behind Steele, in actual real life, that's where I keep my DVD collection. It's behind all those cupboards and drawers there. So, but obviously, if it ever comes time for Steele to use one of those cupboards, he's not pulling out a DVD. But on the shelf to the right, to his left hand, but on the right side of the screen, there's 3 skulls. Obviously, those aren't real skulls. Those are just from the dollar store. I threw them up there. And in the intro, this is what you see at the intro. There is on the left hand of the screen shelf, there is a Yeti, and there is a smaller skull. And the smaller skull is a candle holder, but obviously there's no candle. And as you see, as time goes by, you won't see this in the intro, but as time goes by, you'll see more stuff added to the desk, and more stuff added to more of the left-hand side of the shelf. Those skulls stay there, and eventually you'll see the dragon head disappear. Oh no, the dragon head's not on the shelf, but you'll see the dragon head on the desk disappear, get replaced with a radio, as well. You'll see other things happen on the desk. And if you watch closely, the reason, what I like, because as I said, this is a series of shorts, it's not really a continuous story. What's good is I can film as many episodes all at once, edit them together, and then decide which way they come out. Now, obviously, there's gonna be little tidbits where if you see in one of the episodes, you see one little thing on the desk, and then the next one it's gone. It's only because I filmed that, let's say episode 3 first before episode 2. But those are the little things you'll see in there. The table itself, the Steele's desk, is actually a coffee table, and he sits on the tiny chair, which I don't think anybody has picked up on. But those are some interesting little facts. That's about it I can say for the intro, simply because I'll point out in each of these podcasts, I'll point out when you'll see something new pop up or disappear from Steele's desk in the show. The intro will always be the same, so the intro will always look like that. At one point, you can see an outlet with a plug behind a suitcase in the intro, I believe, when it's focusing on the dragon's head. However, you don't fully see it, so it's not really a big deal. I think that's about it. I'm trying to think of, because the first one, the Call of Bigfoot, is so related to how this thing got started, and I don't want to talk about the Call of Bigfoot in this episode. I just want to do everything on the intro there and how everything got started, on why it became a series. And doing the series, it's been tons of fun. My sister and I worked on all 6 episodes of the first one. Actually, the first season, there was one script that was written but didn't get filmed for the first season, but then it did get filmed for the second season. So I'll talk about that when that episode comes as well. Maybe because there's a couple of friends of mine who are in a few of the episodes, so maybe I'll bring them on as guests, chat with them about their experience, and yeah, that's what you can expect. As I said, each episode, so I'll just give you a little rundown. So the next episode will be about the Call of Bigfoot, which is the first short released under the Steele Dossier banner. I'm going to talk about how I filmed that, where I filmed that, some of the things I did, some of the things that, maybe didn't make it to screen. As well, I'm going to talk about Bigfoot, the folklore of Bigfoot and the myth of Bigfoot more in depth there. I won't get too crazy because some of these folklores kind of are pretty extensive when you try to get into them. So I won't cover everything. I'll just do like a Cole's Notes version of it. But that's what you can expect moving forward with this podcast. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you'll listen to the next episode. Feel free, if wherever you're listening, feel free to like, subscribe, join, leave a comment on all the social medias, wherever this is posted on. You know what? Even give me a thumbs up. A thumbs up. Even if I can't see it, just do a thumbs up as you're listening to this. My soul will feel it. My positive vibes will feel it. So thank you for listening. I look forward to doing more of these, and I hope you enjoyed it. All right. Thank you.